I just made a video about breaking your contract with a Chinese school or just ending your contract with a Chinese school in the context of if you're on a business visa or a tourist visa and you're working at a Chinese school. Now, it's slightly different, but not that different if you have a work visa. Now, what will happen? Are you going to end up fighting like these two? Will it end up like this? Arr, arr. Rawr, rawr. Well, no, it doesn't have to. Sometimes it might, sometimes it can. But with the bigger, I'll just take myself as an example. Um, I was working for Hey, stop it. I was working for Web International English, and um, I decided, well, I'm going to do some other things. I don't want to work full time. Blah blah blah. So uh, under their at Web and at other schools, but big schools like that, generally you need to give 30 days notice. You give 30 days notice, okay, and then because that gives them time to find a new worker. Now, again, I had a work visa with them. They applied for my work visa. Stop it. Balemos. Um, and um, it was when you get a work visa for a particular school, it is to some extent, there's one part of it that is tied to the school, and then another part of it is not. Okay? Um, I don't want to spend too much time going into that, but what you do is you give them your notice, and then they can find someone new or do whatever. Now, the question is, well, do you have to pay for something? What I've heard stories that sometimes you have to pay them an exorbitant amount of money, or that you have to leave China, or your visa is automatically expires. Well, here's the thing. Uh, they normally do not go and try to cancel your visa. And the reason they don't is because you don't want to be going back. Well, I think I discussed this in another video. So let me just stay focused on the actual situation that happened with me. And nothing happened. It was just fine. I didn't have to pay an extra. I didn't get my bonuses. You finish your contract 6 months halfway through. I had already been working for them for a little while, more than a year, um, and I think about 2 years. But at any rate, I didn't have to pay anything. I didn't have to pay for that visa fee, because usually what happens, and I had a friend who worked at Web, and he did have to pay a little something. He did have to pay something. Um, but he only worked there for about 5.5 months, something like that. So they spent the money to get him his work visa, right? And then he didn't stay there a whole year. He stayed there 5 months, and then decided to take off. Okay, fine. But they got him a work visa, and I went with him to Hong Kong to do that, and I knew the whole process, right? And then uh, here's the thing: because he didn't work there over a year, they did charge him. I think it was like 4,000 renminbi, 4,000 renminbi, which is about $700 for because he didn't finish the contract, and they had expended time and energy in getting him the work visa. So that's understandable. Okay, that was understandable, and they just took it out of his last month's pay. Um, but normally, if you've worked there for over a year, you will get from them a piece of paper that shows that you both that the employment is over, and you have a piece of paper. You can take it to your new school, and then your new school will get you a new visa. But part of the process is already finished because it's a two-part process. One, you have to get certified. It's certified. It's really not a big deal as a foreign expert to teach English in China. And once you get that, okay, once you get that status, going to a new school is much easier. Okay, it's much easier because half of the process has already been completed. Okay, um, and so it's not that big a deal. And amongst Chinese employers here locally, they all normally think that you can give 30 days notice and leave your job. Um, and Now I have some friends who work in software, Chinese people who work in software, who work. I also do software development, web development, both front end and back end. But at any rate, I have some Chinese friends who they sign 3-year contracts with their Chinese companies, right? They're full time developers at these, mills. Essentially, they're like software factories. They work really hard. They work overtime, a lot of pressure, and their salary is lower than mine. I know software developers in China actually make less than full-time English teachers at schools like Web International English and EF and Metin, Wall Street, Web International. It's amazing. They're full-time teachers there make more than software developers. I mean, guys who are pretty talented software developers. It's kind of fucked, but whatever. Um, so it's all about supply and demand, right? But um, it's normally not a big problem to switch schools, okay? Even if you're on a work visa. There's a little bit more red tape. You can't just willy-nilly flip and switch. But a lot of these other schools, they'll let you start working and start paying you before they finish processing your visa. That happens all the time. You can believe me, they don't care. They're ready for you to start working that next day. If you want to switch from Web International English to Wall Street, people do that all the time. And you can start working there, you can get your money, you can get paid before your visa status is finalized. I have a friend who just went to Wall Street, but so I can't say as a fact that you can do that, but I'm about 90% sure because I know with all the other ones, I have done this type of thing. So it's just fine. And it's not that big a deal.